For the next half an hour or more of the program, we're going to have open phones, and we invite you to call in to talk about anything that we've discussed today or what you've seen in the newspapers. The numbers will be on your screen. Republicans 202-737-0001, Democrats 202-737-0002, and Independents 202-628-0205. Before we go to the phones, I want to show you an article. It's an op-ed, actually, in today's Washington Post by another governor, Bill Richardson. He's the Democratic governor of New Mexico and also a presidential candidate. The headline says, "Diplomacy, not war with Iran." The recent tentative agreement with North Korea over its nuclear program illustrates how diplomacy can work even with the most unsavory of regimes. Unfortunately, it took the Bush administration more than 6 years to commit to diplomacy. During that needless delay, North Korea developed and tested nuclear weapons its leaders will still have not agreed to dismantle. Had we engaged the North Koreans earlier instead of calling them evil and talking about regime change, we might have prevented them from going nuclear. We could have and should have negotiated at a better agreement and sooner. Further down in the article, he writes, "Saber rattling is not a good way to get to the Iranians to cooperate, but it is a good way to start a new war, a war that would be a disaster for the Middle East, for the United States, and for the world." Again, that is Bill Richardson. He's the governor of New Mexico and a Democratic presidential candidate in 2008. Another article that I want to show you is another political article in the Washington Post today. The headline is, "Democrats offer up chairman for donors." Eager to show up their fragile House and Senate majorities, congressional Democrats have enlisted their committee chairman in an early blitz to bring millions of dollars into the party's coffers, culminating in a late March event featuring House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and 10 of the powerful panel chairmen. Critics deride the aggressive fundraising push as the kind of business as usual that voters rejected at the ballot box last November, particularly the practice of giving interest groups access to committee chairmen in exchange for sizable donations. But Democrats are unapologetic. Our first call comes from St. Peter, Minnesota on the Republican line. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I'd just like to know, when is C-SPAN going to be doing stuff on maybe something about the JFK conspiracy or maybe the war on drugs? It doesn't seem like you really touch those issues very much. So I was wondering, you might have some upcoming shows coming up for doing those subjects?
We'll take that into consideration. Thank you, caller. Continuing with that same article that we were talking about with committee chairmen, Democrats use Hill chairmen as magnets for fundraising. Further down in the article, it says, House Democrats hope to raise between $65,000 and $1 million for each of the party's most endangered Democrats in hopes of keeping the party in control of Congress. The tactics are hardly new. Republicans aggressively use their committee chairman and the promise of access to them to raise money from interest groups and lobbyists during the party's 12 years of congressional control. They track donations closely and press lobbying firms to hire GOP lobbyists through the K Street Project, promising intimate issue briefings with the chairman in return for big donations. And the GOP is hardly sitting on the sidelines this year. Republicans are also using their top lawmakers on committees to haul in donations. Our next call comes from Southampton, New York on the Independent line. Good morning. What's on your mind?
Yes, good morning to you. You have an excellent program. I wanted to bring out a point. Prime Minister Blair made a statement, which is correct. He said 90% of the world's heroin comes from Afghanistan. Now, we know that our prison population, over 60% of the people in prisons, are heroin users. So, which is probably about a $200 billion cost to the United States and probably to Europe. My proposal would be the following. Forget about building roads so the Afghans can get the heroin out. Why don't we buy the $10 billion worth of heroin from the Afghans? They'll be loyal to us. And also, 1% search. Hong Kong does a 100% search of all containers for drugs. They have 2 times the amount of containers we have. Now, the situation is we have a 1% search for heroin. The only way heroin is getting into the United States, if Afghanistan is 90% of the world's heroin, is on these container ships. Now, the argument is, oh, we can't, there's too many, and so on. Federal Express does 2 million packages a day worldwide. You're only talking about 4,000 or 5,000. Local gas stations that do inspections can inspect these containers. I think it's a very, very serious problem, and it's not been brought up in the newspapers. They're talking about Afghan women going to school, medical care, and the rest. But they're poisoning Europe and the United States, and it comes from Blair himself. So I would recommend funding of a search of 100% of all the cargo ships coming to the United States.
Thank you, caller. Our next line is Memphis, Tennessee, on the Democratic line.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning.
And I want to switch gears just a tad. I find it fascinating that in this particular election on the Democratic side, that a new battle is starting to occur amongst Democrats, and it's a battle it really hasn't captured media attention yet. But it's the older civil rights leaders such as Jesse Jackson, Catherine Hughes, Al Sharpton having a fundamental problem with Barack Obama. And I find it interesting because it seems that a lot of those individuals are upset with Obama and his candidacy because he has not asked permission, per se, from the older civil rights organization, older civil rights leaders, to run for president. And it really kind of crystallized itself, or it kind of came to. I started thinking about it when I saw the Tavis Smiley piece on C-SPAN a few weeks back with the state of the Black Union, and I was just curious if there was any articles that you had, or if there's any information that you had to kind of address this, or did you know of any reporters, maybe the Washington Post, the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, that's kind of following that particular internal battle? And I'll just sit back and watch it.
Who are you supporting?
Oh, I'm supporting Barack Obama. I'm a good. One of my good friends is Harold Ford Jr. and Obama and Jr. Tour Davis in Birmingham, Kendrick Meeks in Florida. They seem to be representing a new class of an elected official, and I'm really excited about that particular elected official, the post-civil rights generation kind of coming up and taking the mantle. Because if you really want to look at it from a political perspective, traditional elected officials are no longer the people that are the trumpeter or the drum major for the African American community. In my opinion, it's more it's business people that have the ability to hire and what have you. When you look at Barack Obama, he does represent kind of a middle of the road or a stopgap or a middle gap, a gap type of candidate that understands the complexities of merging business, the complexities of creating opportunities for the African American community, and also looking at the big picture and how we can all be integrated into one system and be effective. So I'm really excited about Obama, and in my lifetime, he is the first candidate that I've seen that is truly has the potential to be elected versus Jesse Jackson, who could have been polarizing as Al Sharpton, articulate, but they're just polarizing.
Thank you, caller, and we'll take your suggestions into consideration. Our next call comes from Riverside, California, on the Republican line.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. I had a comment because I'm really concerned about this whole terrorism issue, and I was wondering if basically America out there has been told about this. It's called the Project by the Muslim Brotherhood, and it's a plan to actually take over the West, here. And I heard on C-SPAN, I think it was last weekend, that one of the guests was saying that it was the one who had Jihad Incorporated. He wrote, and he said that there was like 1,200 terrorist groups here. And this is in the on the internet, and they go into it in detail. And I was wondering why nobody's.
Caller, what website on the internet?
Well, it's under the Muslim Brotherhood, and then the Project, and there's a bunch of pages on it.
Okay, thank you. Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, on the Independent line.
Yes, hi, how are you doing?
Good.
All right, thank you. I'm calling to talk about the 2008 election and how I think that we're rushing in a little too early, and how I think it's actually a great thing because personally, I hate Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Like, I think they're just too media-propped candidates, just like how Rudy Giuliani and Mitt Romney and John McCain are.
Well, who are you supporting then?
Well, right now, I don't know who I want to support because, well, I like Bill Richardson, to be quite honest with you, because he does have the government experience, and he's a governor on top of it. Like, he's not like a senator, so he's not going to, like, try to, like, talk down to people or, like, try to explain things in, like, in the form of passing a bill. Like, he's going to say, like, you know, how it, like, well, not exactly how it is, but, you know, like, a lot better than some of the other candidates. Like, all right, Hillary Clinton is just basically a money machine, which I kind of don't like because it's just like, you know, all the callers have been calling, and I agree with how it's been like Bush, Clinton, Bush, and then another Clinton. I mean, that's not too like fair for the, you know, democracy, and it's not our fault either when we have poor choices. Like, all right, Barack Obama, he's an all right candidate, but he's only been in the Senate for 2 years, and to be quite frankly, I think he's a shallow candidate. Not in personality, I think he's a good person, but to be quite honest, it's just like, all right, well, he's talking about American hope. That's great, but give us some ideas. What are you going to do? What would you put effective in your first 100 days in office? What would you provide to the country? If somehow the Democrats would lose the House or something, I doubt that would happen. What would you do in those circumstances? If you were to become the nominee, how would you raise money for other candidates? What's the point of being president if you're not going to make money for your candidates so they can help pass your agenda? I mean, none of these guys are talking about this issue. And the other issue that scares me the most is terrorism. I mean, as much as I disagree with the Iraq war, we can't just leave now because it's going to leave a void. Like, those terrorists, if they're going to hit us, they're going to hit us. But quite frankly, I just don't trust these, like, Hollywood, like, media prop candidates like Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama. And
Thank you, caller. We appreciate it. Hot Springs, South Dakota, Democratic line.
Yes, hello.
Good morning.
I was in the Vietnam War back in '68. My name is Richard Willett, and I didn't like the Vietnam War at all. And it's not right. What's going on here in Baghdad? We've been over there long enough. We should be pulling our troops out of there slowly. The government of Baghdad has been well trained. They should be taking responsibility for their own jobs, for the military that they have. I'm getting sick and tired of hearing about our troops being murdered by the Antichrist, the insurgents.
Caller, what do you think about the congressional debate on the Iraq War? Do you think that's appropriate?
No.
Why not?
We're done over there. We've talked enough. It's time for action. Pull our troops out. Let the Baghdad government take over the responsibility and go for it. We don't need to be over there being murdered day by day by day. This is senseless. President Bush is our commander-in-chief. I have a lot of respect for him as far as the military goes. But this guy, he's got to get those troops out of there. I don't like what he's doing at all. It don't make no sense.
Thank you, caller. Let me show you a headline in today's Washington Post. McConnell threatens to block bid to repeal war resolution. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell warned yesterday that a new Democratic effort to repeal the 2002 Iraq War resolution would meet the same fate as two previous efforts to limit President Bush's authority, blocked by procedural obstacles unless Democrats relent to GOP terms. Speaking to reporters by conference call from his Louisville home, McConnell compared the latest Democratic move to, quote, trying to unring a bell. He warned that Lieutenant General David Petraeus, the U.S. military commander in Iraq, would have to surround himself with lawyers to comply with the new resolution that senior Democrats are drafting. Our next call, Arlington, Virginia, on the Republican line.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First off, you're really very pretty. Had to say it. The reason why I was calling is I wanted to touch down on Barack Obama, but before I do that, really quickly, I want to touch on what you had asked the previous caller. Is the debate in Congress appropriate on the issue of Iraq? I'd say no, and the reason is that a non-binding resolution is just a hollow political stunt, really. It's, you know, you have Democrats out here that are saying, Well, the Republicans can't have it both ways. You can't say that it's hollow and empty, and at the same time say it's so important because it has an effect on troop morale and sends the wrong signal to the enemy. Yeah, you can have it both ways. It's there is a distinction here. It's unimportant legislatively. It doesn't do anything legislatively. It's grandstanding and pretty obvious. We let them vent, fine and well, but it really is unimportant legislatively. And then symbolically, it's very important. So that's the distinction there. The Democrats are just kind of, I think they've just lost their way in a lot of ways. No longer the party of FDR or JFK. I don't think FDR or JFK would give the right time of day to half of these people out here.
Another article on that issue in the New York Times, congressional Democrats wrestle over how to force Bush to alter Iraq policy. And in the article, they say the Democrats are divided on this issue. In the House, moderate Democrats are uneasy with the plan put forth by Representative John P. Murtha, Democrat of Pennsylvania, to attach stringent conditions to financing for the war. One skeptical Democrat, Representative Jim Cooper of Tennessee, said Friday that the Murtha plan was as risky as catching a falling knife. In the Senate, where at least 4 Democrats are running for president, each with an Iraq policy, Democratic leaders are pursuing a plan to repeal the war authorization and replace it with language narrowing the military mission. Democrats concede that the plan to revise the authorization, backed by Senator Joseph Biden, Democrat of Delaware and one of the presidential candidates, is unlikely to garner enough votes to pass, but they hope to pick up enough Republican votes to embarrass Mr. Bush. As they search for consensus further down in the article, Democrats must also worry about a wild card in the debate. Senator Joseph Lieberman, the Connecticut Democrat elected as an independent, a strong supporter of the war, who has hinted that he might become a Republican if Democrats go too far in trying to rein in Mr. Bush. Lusby, Maryland, on the independent line. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I originally wanted to comment about an article you were discussing a couple minutes ago about campaign contributions and lobbyists and whatnot. And that's one of the reasons why I am an independent, is because I believe that both the Republicans and the Democrats are kind of too into the whole corporate marriage, and it's kind of a shame that elected officials need so much money to maintain or get into office. And I don't know, I used to not vote because I didn't believe in the Electoral College and how our votes don't necessarily matter, and that the whole corporate marriage thing, it's just really a shame.
Are you going to vote in 2008?
Yes, I am.
Do you know who you're going to support?
Who am I going to support? I'm not 100% sure yet. It's still kind of far off. I work a lot, so it's going to take me a while to sift through a lot of the information that's put out about so many of these individuals. And being an independent from Maryland, I can't vote in any of the primary elections, so that kind of makes it difficult as well. But I kind of think that the environment is so important in so many aspects, and that's so overlooked in so much of what I've seen from these Democrat and Republican candidates, that to me, the Iraq war, it matters a lot, but when we're treating the environment like we are now, a lot of that is irrelevant. The environment gives us the life that we need, and we're just abusing it. So what's the point of worrying about so much other stuff?
Thank you, caller. Tacoma, Washington, on the Republican line. Good
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'd like to second the gentleman's comment from Virginia, Miss. You're new on the show. I do think you're not only aesthetically good-looking, but intellectually good-looking, and that's very refreshing. I'd also like to comment on what my frustration is, I think, biggest in politics, and that is that you really, who do we vote for? I'm a conservative. If you vote for Republicans, it seems like you're voting for silk suits that coddle big business to the extent that it ruins our country, because unbridled capitalism can be just as damaging as communism. And then if you vote on the other side, somebody like Hillary Clinton, you're voting for somebody who would take 70 or 80% of your paycheck overnight if she could sign some legislation to do so. So I really wish we had a third party. I'm sure lots of people do. I just wish there was some sort of movement like there was in in Kyiv where you have millions of people ascending on the Capitol in a peaceful way saying change, change, change. We need millions and millions of people to ascend on this country and throw these bums out.
Are there any, caller, are there any third-party candidates from previous elections that you would like to see run again?
You know, I've paid attention a little bit to Ralph Nader. I think he's a little bit too anti-business for me, but I think we need somebody to step up to the plate that is not a politician. Somebody commented on Bill Richardson earlier. I think he's a good person because he doesn't have that classic politician. He does to a certain extent, but he's not really soaked in Washington. So I just think that's what America needs. We need a fresh face. I don't think Barack Obama is the person we're looking for. He is a propped-up candidate. I think we need somebody who truly doesn't like socialism and truly doesn't like unbridled capitalism, and truly wants to clamp down at the borders for security. I think that if somebody focused on those 3 points, I think they'd be the winner.
Thank you, caller. Our next call, Titusville, Florida, on the Democratic line.
Yes.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Yes. All I have to say is the Democrats that we have running right now is the best that we've had in a long time. And I just want my fellow Americans to remember that one thing is what FDR said a long time ago and what the Republicans have been doing to us for years now, and what FDR said was the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. So don't let the Republicans scare us in and change things for us. We need to take back our government.
Caller,
and that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next call, Salt Lake City, Utah, on the independent line.
Hi, first-time caller. Love your show. What I was calling about is I'm an independent, and I've been voting Democratic for the last few years, but I really can't see myself voting for Hillary Clinton. I don't know Obama well enough. I think we're kind of in a fix because they just seem too much the same. I know there's a few minor issues, political issues, but it just seems as if the two parties have become mixed together and we don't have a viable third option. I think the U.S. government needs, or the U.S. people need to bring back a third party.
Thank you, caller. I want to go back to the issue of Congress debating the Iraq 2002 authorization. An article in today's Philadelphia Inquirer raises the constitutional question, and it says, but as lawmakers craft their latest Iraq strategy and the White House condemns it, they could be entering a constitutional minefield or an exercise in futility. Specifically, Feinstein, Senator Dianne Feinstein, a Democrat from California, her legislation would end on December 31st, the U.S. authorization to fight in Iraq. It would permit some U.S. forces to remain. Senate Democratic leaders have adopted a similar concept, but are still tinkering with the language. Our next call comes from Atlanta, Georgia, on the Republican line. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Hi. I wanted to make a comment about a previous caller's comment that pulling out of Iraq and Baghdad would leave the country in chaos. That even though it was a dictatorship before, at least it was stable. Once we came in, we created the chaos. Getting out might make it stable again. Just something to think about.
Thank you, caller. In that same article, a little bit further down, they also talk about that another presidential contender, Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton, has a plan to revoke the Iraq war authorization unless U.S. troops begin withdrawing within 90 days. As of yesterday, Clinton had no co-sponsors. The White House's Tony Fratto said the president would judge anything that it comes out of Congress by whether it gives him, quote, the flexibility and resources necessary to proceed with his decision to send 21,000 additional combat troops to Iraq to secure Baghdad and Anbar province. It's clear that if there are efforts to remove troops out of Baghdad, there are consequences for Baghdad, Furtado said. The only credible analysis that we've seen, the National Intelligence Estimate report and others, are pretty clear on this, that it would bring chaos to Baghdad. Our next phone call comes from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, on the Democratic line. Good morning.
Good morning. I fear that just what if the person in the White House really were like the Antichrist? Wouldn't his job be to wreak as much terror and havoc on the earth, and to sit on vacation while American children died of thirst, or create all this hatred in the Middle East? I mean, if I were the devil, I would say the place to put myself would be in the White House. And it's a scary thought, and I just think that people should really consider that. I'm not joking. I think he's someone that should be taken out, and the Congress has the right to do it under our Constitution. And I think it's more than time they stood up and got rid of this man and Cheney with him.
Caller, you'd like the Democrats to try to impeach the president?
I think that we need to make a fresh start with the world, admit we made a mistake, and try to move on. And we need to hold all of them, Wolfowitz, Pearl, Cheney, the whole group, Tommy Franks, they need to be put on trial under our system through our Constitution to show the world that we want to make a change and that we were wrong. You have to admit you made a mistake before you can try to move on and correct the problem.
Okay, thank you. Burleston, Texas, on the Republican line.
Yes, hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. That's what's important to the Democrats. You need to apologize and tell everybody you're sorry. I think it tells you all you need to know about the Democrat Party when their big guy, Congressman Murtha, is out there trying to figure out a way to lose the war, and short of that, embarrass the president in time of war. And this coming from a character who just was debating when to take a bribe from the Arabs back there in the, the 70s. The only reason he wasn't indicted was because they chose not to, but he absolutely should have been indicted. He was going to take a bribe. He admitted it, and he didn't turn him in to the FBI as he should have. So they should be proud of their folks. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to continue taking your phone calls before we go over to the National Governors Meeting. We're going to be covering that live, but we're going to keep taking your phone calls in the meantime. Our next call comes from Stowe, Vermont, Independent Line.
Yes, I have a comment going back to an earlier caller that suggested that the U.S. Buy up the opium product of Afghanistan. Of course, that would be very expensive. There's a simpler solution. It's expensive because heroin is illegal. If you simply legalize heroin, that takes all the profit out of that transaction. And actually then the farmers in Afghanistan would turn to a different product that would turn a better profit. So I think that's a good solution and a simple solution, and marijuana could be legalized along with heroin and take the profit, the huge profits out of that trade. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Little Rock, Arkansas, on the Democratic line. Good morning.
Good morning. What I would like to first comment on a caller's call when he talked about Jesse Jackson and not supporting Barack Obama. What I would like to say about that is that they are good friends. Barack Obama and Jesse Jackson are good friends, and if Obama wins, that would be the Jesse Jackson White House.
Who are you going to support?
I'm going to support Hillary. Why
is that?
And if I could just say one more thing.
Sure.
Everybody's talking about the Democrats need to apologize for voting on the war. I would like to believe that if we thought we were going to have mushroom clouds coming on our land, that they would vote. Hillary, the Republicans, all the rest of them would vote to protect us. They didn't make a mistake. They answered the call. The call was a lie. Thank you.
Columbus, Ohio, on the Republican line. Good morning.
As I said, this channel's a piece of shit.
I'm going to show you one more article before we go, and the headline is, Bush plan to allow Mexican truckers throughout U.S. draws criticism. The administration plan announced Thursday would have United States inspectors oversee Mexican trucking companies that carry cargo across the border. The pilot project will let Mexican truck companies travel throughout the United States. No hazardous material shipments will be permitted. But opponents said Mexico had substandard trucks and low-paid drivers that would threaten national security, cost thousands of jobs, and endanger motorists. Our next call from Chattanooga, Tennessee, on the Independent line. Good morning.
Good morning. People, we have to get it together. We got to quit sending any money to any of the Republicans or Democrats. Look at the other candidates that aren't being pushed by the media and the corporations. There's Mike Gravel from Alaska and Ron Paul from Texas. One's a Democrat, one's a Republican. Those people have big ideas for our country. They both sound like they'd be working for the people and not the corporations. And I just think that we need to pay more attention. Quit sending your money to Hillary and Giuliani.
Caller, are you supporting one of those?
I'm going to try to support Ron Paul and Mike Gravel because I think our country is in a big crisis.
Have you donated money to them as well?
Yes, I have.
Thank you, caller. Minnetonka, Minnesota, on the Republican line.
Hi, I wanted to say two things. One, I think terrorism, whether George Bush tells us that terrorism is a threat to us or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, I think it's real. And maybe people don't want to hear it, but I think George Bush has done this country, he's served this country well in that respect. And the second thing I wanted to call about is that in Iraq, maybe we need to talk to the people, and this is where the Democrats might get involved with the Republicans. I know the Republicans are very hawkish, but maybe the Democrats need to say, okay, we don't like your approach. However, who are the countries surrounding Iraq? And obviously Iran is not someone we would call on, but if we want to make if we want to get the troops home and we want to get Baghdad to police their own country, maybe we need to ally with some of the more benign countries around Iraq. And maybe I think if we want an effective foreign policy over there, we need to ask for some sort of help. I mean, Baghdad needs to do more than they're doing. I'm disappointed not as much in the president, but in the fact that the leaders of Baghdad still are playing games with us a little bit. Or maybe they're not playing games, but they're not doing their job. And it's not entirely the fault of the Bush administration. It's just a fact of life that it's difficult over there. But we need to talk with other allies in that area. There's got to be some. If I were taking a course in foreign policy in Iraq, or just how to include diplomacy along with war to map a plan for the future, I would think there'd be more options than just adding more troops, subtracting more troops.
Thank you, caller. I want to read a little bit more to you about this Bush's plan to allow Mexican trucks. Further in the article, it says the first Mexican trucks are expected to drive beyond the border area in about 60 days, the Transportation Department said. Under the 1993 North American Free Trade Agreement, access to all United States highways was promised by 2000, as was access through Mexico for American carriers. That aspect of NAFTA was stalled by lawsuits and disagreements. Our next call from Burlingame, California, on the Democratic line. California, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I kind of agree with the lady that called a few minutes ago who said that the war has been perpetuated on a lie, and I think that the Democrats are starting to recognize their duty as to the American people to put forward the truth. And the problem is that they keep being called anti-patriot for not supporting the troops, when the truth is that that the whole war was perpetuated on a lie, and they get into like a semantic chess game trying to be patriotic yet get us out of an illegal war.
That's it for today's show. Thank you for watching Washington Journal. Up next, live coverage of the National Governors Association's winter meeting.
Including a number of new faces who have been able to travel to the nation's capital for this annual